Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to the Brandon's World Podcast. It is a special Saturday, September 27th, 2025 edition of Brandon's World because there's so much going on when it comes to the MLB playoffs. There's so much going on when it comes to the National Football League. I had to bring on as quickly as possible and have a chat with our MLB expert aficionado, the man who was here when we did the state of Major League Baseball back in July. He is a Voted Live colleague. He is the host of the Fitz on Sports podcast. Sean Fitzgerald, how you doing, bud?
Doing good. Go Kent, go Buckeyes, go Guardians today. And also, you luck corrected yourself with your cardinal sin with the MLB. You stated that first, but you corrected yourself the rest of the way, so I will forgive it.
Well, listen, so this is a first in a while today on Brandon's World. For the first time since we graduated from Kent State University, what was Black Squirrel Radio, now is Black Squirrel Entertainment. We are doing
And Fitz on
a
Sports BSR. It's not going anywhere, bitches.
There you go. We are doing a recorded to live show today. So generally when I record an interview, guys, it's a couple days in advance, but there is no way that whatever we talk about today is not going to be out of date in a couple of hours because Fitz, these MLB playoff races are coming down to the wire. I fully admit, last night I went into my new favorite thing called ChatGPT and I asked ChatGPT to give me the scenarios of the MLB playoffs because my brain was racking and
Giving them
spinning.
to you, buddy. Come on. Trust
So,
me. Don't trust the AI bot. That's getting out of work.
all right, Fitz. Listen, we're in Cleveland. You know where I want to start. Let's talk about our Guardians. I've called them dead 3 times. I
I
said
called
this.
them dead too after that 10-game losing streak. You and me
Listen,
both.
I said this is the most 500 baseball team I've ever seen in my life. They were going to be 81 and 81, and it was going to be the most predictable thing ever. And then they go on that win streak. We're now, what is it, after last night's
They
loss to
went on
Texas?
multiple 5-game win streaks throughout the year, and then their longest was 10 before that got snapped at
Well,
the
but
end
I'm
of the
saying it's
All-Star
like,
break.
what, 17 of their last 20 games, right? I believe it's
Something
the
along
stat.
those lines, correct.
So tonight is a very important game. I believe Cantillo is going tonight, if I am correct
That's
on
what I
that.
had heard, and I'm going to verify that. You don't know who Sunday starters are right now,
Well,
just because,
that's what I'm saying. What's going to be
yeah, you're going
meaningful
with Joey
tonight?
Cantillo
Yep.
against Jacob Latz.
So here's the
It's
deal.
an, oh, they're going bullpen game for Texas. Ooh.
Tonight, if the Guardians win, Tigers lose to Boston, the Guardians rout the division. That is the ideal scenario because I want Gavin Williams to start a game one on Tuesday. I do not want to have him use on Sunday because Fitz, tell me if you agree with me or not. I still, after last postseason, do not trust Tanner Bybee in that ace role to start game one.
I trust Bybee. I do because he's been fixed up. Here's what I see. Bybee's again. Bybee can be an ace slash high floor too, but if you want to use Williams, and especially if you're at home, if you think he needs an extra day of rest, you could start him on Wednesday potentially, depending on how today's results go. So if you and Bybee just had that great outing, again, you got to figure out where the rest all comes in, all that. But if you want to try and go with a more normal rotation, you'd go with Gavin, you go with Tanner, but you also have to try and think about it like, let's say, you win the division, but you need to win today at the very least. So when we're recording, so we're just talking Saturday only for this moment. If you win today and the Tigers lose today, it's a done deal because the season series tiebreaker 8-5. And let's just say both teams lose out, Cleveland gets it, but obviously the main thing is I think one more Astros loss could technically clinch both Detroit and
Correct.
Cleveland.
You are correct on that.
Yeah, because that they're the last team in the American League that's just on the periphery.
So Houston
And
has to win out. I believe if they win out and Detroit goes 1-1, Houston would jump them.
wait,
No.
hold on.
Right,
Because
yes.
Houston doesn't have a tiebreaker. They didn't have a tiebreaker over
They
Cleveland, Detroit, or Boston.
they
All
don't.
tiebreakers were by those three teams over Houston.
But I'm gonna double check here and see because I believe they have the same
So if
record
the
as
Tigers
Detroit.
win one, if the Tigers, if okay, so if Houston wins one, and the Tigers lose out. So this would be 1-1 the next 2 days for Houston, right?
Yes, they would
If they would
have
end
the
up with the
same
same
record.
record, it would be the Tigers should have
You're
the
you're
tiebreaker.
right. So Houston has to win out, Detroit has to lose out.
Mm-hmm. And that's why a series like that in July, where you sweep in Houston, was so huge.
Well, here's the thing, Fitz. Let me ask you this question because I've had this thought over the last few weeks. So we know the Guardians have beaten the Tigers now 6 out of the last 7. They swept them in Detroit. They took 2 out of 4, or 5 out of the last 6. I'm sorry. Swept them in Detroit. Took 2 out of 3 in Cleveland. Are you worried about facing a team for a third time in what would be about, I don't know, 14 days or so?
There is some concern there. It's just a matter of A, do you think you're going to get the version of the Tigers that's been collapsing, which I didn't see this coming at all, where it's a reverse of last year? Because last year they got hot in the second half, and obviously they've collapsed this year's second half. And the way it's also been going, like, I didn't see the Guardians making this second half run where they were just as hot as you could get.
Right.
But to answer your question, I'm not sure because once you reach playoff baseball, it's a
Yeah.
totally different mindset.
Well,
Everyone,
and
it's
I,
all different. All the
well,
no,
and
there's no
I,
stats
here's
that
the
are
thing.
that carry over. It's all clean.
Well, let me add to this. I think there's a big different feel if Scooble has to pitch tomorrow for Detroit versus them
Oh, there would
saving him
be,
for game one.
yeah, because you're hoping that in this scenario you want to win today if you're Cleveland. You want Detroit to either win or lose, but obviously you'd rather than lose, and then you want to have the Astros put pressure on Detroit.
Well, that's the thing.
Like
You
that's
want
the main
Houston to
thing.
win and you want Detroit to lose. Now, if well, let me ask you this. If you had your choice, because there's another scenario out there where Detroit beats Boston twice and Boston potentially dropping down to the 6th seed. So the Guards really, if they win the division, they could play Detroit, they could play Houston, or they could play Boston. Out of those three, rank them for me.
Let me see. So you're saying if the Guardians ended up as a wild card,
No, I'm saying the Guardians would host Boston. The Guardians would be the three, Boston would be the six.
let's see.
There is a scenario out there where Detroit were to beat Boston the
Well,
final
Boston
two.
already has the season series tiebreaker. I'm pretty certain over Detroit.
No,
Or well,
Detroit
no, they
has
don't.
it.
They would have to
Det-
sweep. They would have to
yes,
sweep.
that's what
Correct.
I'm saying. Is if Detroit were to jump Boston, let's say Detroit beats Boston the next 2 days, Cleveland would, if they still win the division, Boston would actually come to Cleveland.
Hold on. I'm double checking this because I was just looking at this
See,
last
Fitz, this is
night
why you
too.
use Chat GPT because I got the scenarios
Because I
already.
was looking at it already. It's like regular season series. Detroit leads 3-1, so
Yes,
Boston has to win out to get the tiebreaker.
correct.
Or actually, here's the thing, folks, that I learned from one of my buddies, Sean Schieferstein. Shout out to him. He's not a media guy, but like he pointed this out to me about a month or two ago. It comes down to if it's a 3-3 split, it'll come down to how Boston has played against their own AL East opponents versus how Detroit has played against their own AL Central opponents. And looking at versus division right now, 32-20 Boston is in the East, Detroit 30-22. So if
So
Boston sweeps
Boston would
them,
have the
then
tiebreaker.
mm-hmm,
But what
that's
I'm
correct.
saying is, so let's say Detroit wins one more. Well, what I'm saying is, if Detroit takes both of those games and they have a better record than Boston, and they go ahead of them, and obviously the Astros lose, that would put Boston at 6, Cleveland at 3. If Cleveland wins
No,
out, it
Boston
would
and
be
if Detroit wins the next two, Boston holds the tiebreaker. If I'm not oh wait, no, I'm getting
no.
it mixed up because
That's what I'm trying
no,
to explain to you. I've explained this to you like 3 times. Boston would come to Cleveland.
you might want to cut that part, buddy. Just because my
I'm
head
not cutting
just
it.
got
It's
mixed up with
okay.
that.
No, I'm not cutting it. You're good. I'm just saying that out of those
But
three
yeah,
teams, who would you
I
take?
don't know if I
Boston,
want to face
Cleveland, or
Boston.
Houston?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'd rather would face Houston to be honest, not because I think it's an easy out, but I think they definitely have the weaker lineup of the three this year. Not the rotation is what would worry me, seeing as I don't know if I would want to face a Framber Valdez or whatnot, but I think what worries me more is the pitching on both Boston and Detroit's side, especially given the last couple of nights for Cleveland's offense. So that's where I would lean is I'd lean Houston, but I think Detroit would be my second pick, and then Boston would be third.
All right, to wrap up the American League, you came on my show in July, as we mentioned at the top, when we talked about the state of Major League Baseball. And you had said your prediction this year for the American League is either the Tigers or the Guardians out of the AL Central was going to represent the American League in the World Series. Do you still feel that way?
Yes, and I think it's going to come down to some crazy baseball. It's one way or the other. One of those two. The Yankees only have, in my mind, two legitimate rotation options for October in Rodon and Freed. Toronto, obviously, they've been a good surprise team, but they still have their weaknesses too. They've definitely given up more home run balls, it feels like, the last couple of weeks. That might be just me just observing that. And then Seattle is the one I don't want to face. I think Seattle is very matchup specific. And if you could get them to face, oh, I don't know, a New York Yankees, I think that
So,
could definitely help.
so Fitz, I don't know the for sure answer on this because I don't remember. So help me out here. In baseball, is it like football where the Guardians are the three and they were to beat the wild card, they automatically would play the two? I forgot how that works.
Okay. So let me see. So the Guardians would be playing the 2 seed if they win. So they're locked in the three. AL Central winners locked into the 3 seed.
That's what I'm saying. But isn't
Whoever wins
Seattle
that will play the number 2 seed
but
regardless.
isn't
It's not like
Seattle
I'm not
locked into the two or no?
so I believe they will be, or I'm just looking again at the whole Major League Baseball. They put up a playoff bracket, but it doesn't look like they've decided that. Yes, it would be two. So yeah, you would have to face the Mariners. They would
And
have
then
home field for 3 of those 5 games. And the one thing I will give Cleveland in this is that some of the pitching for Seattle has been a little shaky this year. There have been some injuries, some inconsistency. So you gotta hope that you've got some of that because I think you can limit Cal Raleigh. It just,
yep.
you gotta be able to pitch to the other guys. You got Julio Rodriguez, you got Eugenio Suarez. The one thing that might be your saving price is Josh Naylor in a funny way. The guy is way too aggressive at the plate, and he will cost them a series if he doesn't dial it back.
And you know what's funny? I wanted to bring this up because in the state of MLB, and I think maybe earlier on in March when I brought you on to preview the MLB season, we talked a lot about Bo Naylor and his ability that he had to do this year to improve to call games. I have
And he
seen it.
has.
That's what I'm saying. I have seen it, especially during this winning streak, where I'm at the point where next year, I don't know if they're going to try to do a catching upgrade. I know you want them to go out and potentially go get some catching upgrades. What I mean, I think they're going to do. Do you bring back Hedges as well as a backup and have Bo?
That's going to be a question. I don't know because I know I've put it out there. There's an article on a way back on with Fansided about me, musing about some other things, among others, Adley Rushman, given Baltimore extended their young gun prospects. But um, Bo Naylor, like, you're going to not have like a high average with him likely. But the fact that he's been able to minimize that head action on his swing and just go with a simplified toe tap. I did something like that at one point, like just playing some ball like after high school, whatnot, to kind of help myself out. Though obviously I didn't get as many practice cuts, but seeing that definitely helps. And literally, I'm telling you guys some stuff now that's well enough past. Do you remember when I think it was assistant general manager James or Scott Harris or whatever it was saying, speaking to the media about a couple of years ago, ahead of that Diamondback series, where he's like, he needs to improve. They literally were telling you exactly what he needed to do. And funny enough, the Guardians clubhouse loves him, especially that pitching staff. This is information I have not shared elsewhere. Uh, there was it's like a night and day difference between the personalities of Josh and Bo. They love and they still love Bo, and just among those players in the clubhouse because he hates to lose. He is just a guy who grinds away, and he has really earned that pitching staff's respect.
All right, let's move to the National League now, where there's 5 of 6 at least playoff teams that are locked in. They are fighting for one wild card spot between the Mets and the Reds. Of course, the difference in payroll there is astronomical, but our old buddy Terry Francona is doing almost exactly what he did in 2013 in his
I
first year
know.
here in Cleveland.
Oh man, it's gonna be close. I mean, the Mets having their free fall, I
It
don't
warms
know.
it
It's
warms
because
my heart. I do not like the
the
Mets. I
problem
don't care
is
for the
that they're
Mets.
facing the Reds are facing the Brewers.
But they
That's
beat them
where it's
last
a
night. They could do it again. And the Mets lost to the freaking Marlins, who I know
the
had
Marlins are good, dude. The
I know they
Marlins are
had a
good.
better year than usual, but they're still the Miami
The
bleeping Marlins.
I think Miami's going to be over 500 and either get the final wild card next year, or just miss out. I think they're that talented, and I don't think there's going to be a fire sale of any sort. Maybe the only one I could see getting moved is Sandy Alcantara, just because of just how up and down he's been this year. But that's about it. I don't. I think the Marlins have a legitimate shot at the playoffs. I'm not saying World Series next year, but you could see a world where Jacob Marcy, where some of those guys in their infield, even if they're not, power hitters like Xavier Edwards, Otto Lopez, like those guys have a shot next year, but they gotta A, be healthy in the rotation, and B, I that especially goes true for Max Meyer. He was on fire at the start of the season, and then a hip injury kind of derailed it midway through.
Yeah, so when it comes to the National League, I think if you would have told somebody going into the year that the Dodgers would have 90 wins and that they'd be the third seed in the National League as opposed to closer to 100 wins and best record in baseball, they'd be shocked. They've obviously dealt with tons of pitching injuries this year. It's still the Dodgers. I want to see the Dodgers and Padres match up again at some point. I think that is the best rivalry now in Major League Baseball. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
past the Red Sox and Yankees, in my opinion. But the
I
National
think
League
the Cubs
seems,
and Brewers could honestly get there because remember, Craig
and
Counsell left for the
yes,
richest deal for a manager at the
and
time. I don't
they
think it's
could
been surpassed.
theoretically still match
And
up in the
and
playoffs
here's the
too.
thing. Here's what's even crazier is that the Brewers seem to be even better without Counsell. Like not just this year, but last year too. They've won the division 3 straight years. And this is a credit to their culture. And if even though Council has a bit of a bigger payroll, I mean, there's something wrong with going on over in Wrigleyville. I don't know what exactly it is outside of just payroll and just unwillingness to go all in, push some chips in during the deadline. But it's like they're not a team that I'm banking on making the World Series. However, I don't remember if I mentioned this back in July. I might have mentioned it at the beginning of the year. It's been 8 years since either the AL or NL
Yep, you
people have
have.
represented each of the respective leagues in the World Series. One of them's going to get there. I think there's a potential for both with the Brewers, especially, but I'm leaning AL, and we'll see. We'll find out. Philadelphia is definitely a team that scares me. Not be Even with Zach Wheeler out, that is still a scary rotation. Christopher Sanchez, who got an All-Star snub, Ranger Suarez. Oh God, I mean that is a rotation that's just like I would hate to face that, especially in a short series. Good luck.
Good.
That lineup: Kyle
Well,
Schwarber, Bryce Harper. If you get Trey Turner back, I mean, holy shit.
you talk about trends a lot. I know you're a big trends guy. I'm not as much of a trends guy, but if there's one thing I am a trend guy on, it's this. Two teams from the same city winning a major championship in the same year does not happen a ton. And I think the Phillies are battling the trend of the Eagles won the Super Bowl this year. So Phillies fans are going to get their hearts broken the way that Guardians fans got their heart broken the same year when the Cavaliers won the NBA championship.
I mean, we'll see. Dave Dombrowski is Dave Dombrowski for a reason. He will push the chips in. He went balls deep, ball. Hog wild. I know that's some terms you probably haven't heard from me before, but I mean, he is the guy. If you want to push your chips in and go for it, he's the guy you want as your executive.
I think this has been a really good year for baseball. There's not going to be a team that's over 100 wins this year. It feels very even. Like I think any one of these teams, any one of the 12 teams that are in the playoffs, I personally think you can make a case could win the World Series.
Yeah. I do think though I tilt a little more National League. I mean, a lot of the games I went to this year, Brandon, that were losses, especially like what was it, 8 or 9 in a row before August 1st against the Twins after the home opener. Those were all National League teams outside of Boston, I believe, and maybe one other team. Those were all NL teams. The NL, I think, has definitely had a leg up this year, and I think they could have an advantage, especially given what I think what you got Philadelphia and Milwaukee as the top two seeds in the bracket, regardless. They're going to have, if either of those two make the World Series, they are going to hold home field advantage.
Regardless, I think we're in store for a great playoff. And in next year, of course, I want to get to this real quick. The MLB has already announced, which I think is kind of weird timing ahead of the postseason that they didn't announce this in the offseason, but that it's already been approved that they're going to go to the ABS automated ball strike
Oh, I'm all
system
for it, dude. It's
next year.
I think of it as just to basically this is my funny joke. It's like, hey umpires, you want to get your ump shows out? You got a couple days left. No more of this fucking shit.
So
I
here's
know I'm
the
swearing a lot. I
hey,
just want to say this.
you're
When you
fine.
have a ball go down the heart, Skeens, Baltimore, Cleveland, etc., and you're not calling that crap, yeah, it's time for you guys to get your final ump shows out because I can guarantee you there might be a team that could challenge like literally any call.
Well,
You
you
gotta
can
call it
only get
immediately. It
you
has
can
to happen
only
immediately,
get but you can only get two challenges a game.
but you retain them if you get them right.
Oh,
So
wait a
if you
minute.
lose
I
one,
didn't know this. So
yeah.
wait a
So
minute.
if you
So
lose
you
one, you can
can
still retain your second one and keep getting that right. Is from what I
so
understand.
wait a minute. You can keep challenging as long as you get it right.
Yeah, but the thing is, you have to do it immediately after the pick. So whether it's called ball, called strike, it's
Right.
only the catcher, the hitter, or the
The
pitcher.
hitter.
No help from the dugout.
Right.
It's
But
only the guys on the field. And I can tell you, Paul Skeens, Stephen Kwan, a couple of those other guys who have either insane batting eyes or insane just control the strike zone. Those are going to be the few guys who you can just automatically be like, hey, go ahead. Like,
so
you have the green light.
so I want to clarify here though. So you're saying let's say a team uses both their challenges in the first inning and they get them both correct. They can use
Oh,
them more
yeah, they
during
both
the
they
game.
retain them. They keep them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then why was the wording you can only use up to two per game?
Hmm. Wait, hold on. Maybe I got that a little wrong, but here's one other note that I almost forgot about. If a team is out of challenges, then they would get an extra challenge back in extra innings. So I like that they did that.
I don't like that. I think it should be like football where
What
if
if it
you
was like
lose your
a year
challenges,
ago
you're
with Blaine Thomas, ALCS, strike three call that was outside the zone?
well, that's why it comes down to the strategy of you gotta wait and use your challenges. There should be
That was in
strategy
a
to this.
that was not an extra innings, but I'm saying like if you run out of a challenge and that happens in extra innings and that costs you a series, if that costs you a World Series appearance, you want to have that challenge right then and
But
there.
you should have used it more strategically earlier in the game. That would be my argument.
And I get that argument. I just think that again, we have seen umpires do some crazy crap. And honestly,
Well, I
Brandon,
think this
I
is
shouldn't
gonna
be saying
help.
this. There have been umpires who have been paid under the table over the decades who have done some teams dirty. I'm not saying who, I'm not saying where, but I can say this that after something I learned earlier this summer, there have been a few umpires that have thrown some games.
Fitz, I think
Literally.
this is gonna help
Not
umpires
even
though.
no, this is to help the players and
No,
teams
this is
actually
gonna
have a good
help.
product.
No, this is gonna help umpires because they're gonna be on the clock. They're gonna make better calls. I'm telling you, that's what
Stevie
this is gonna
Buckner is
do.
not going to do it. Nor neither is Laz Diaz. Those two are stubborn as mules.
Well, of course, they're just as stubborn as our favorite umpire of all time, Angel Hernandez.
But he's no longer with us in the Major League Baseball world. He is retired, thank God.
All right, Fitz, we're gonna move on now to talk about. another sport because this coming Thursday or Friday, depending on when we get it done on our end, your NFL Where Things Stand series part one is coming out. So usually when we record this, the WTS had just come out, so I know mostly your takes on all 32 teams in the National Football League. This year, I don't really know any of them besides maybe one,
Yeah.
which I don't want to get into because we
I'm just
disagree
gonna
so
say,
far on it.
spoiler alert, unless Shador Sanders plays, he is not getting a mention. I don't fricking care. He got fricking put onto this team by a meddler, and I'm gonna say it like that. He should have someone meddled, and you could maybe pick out who if you read the tea leaves correctly, and it's not hard to find who it might have been. I think that meddler needs to stay out of business in Berea.
So I'm going to want you to start the conversation with this. We are going into week four of the NFL. We've seen 3 weeks of the NFL season so far. What have been your biggest surprise, good and bad teams?
Oh boy, that is one of the best questions that we have asked. One of the surprises was just seeing the Packers lose. I felt the gut punch in the first quarter. It's only the fourth time it's ever been wrong, and then it went off in the fourth quarter. I'm like, what? But I think one of the more surprising things, if I were to just go with one AFC team, Indianapolis. I did not think Daniel Jones would look so good through 3 games, albeit it's a small sample size. That is a team that has definitely taken me by surprise. But what's helped is Jonathan Taylor looking like vintage Jonathan Taylor. One of the one of the more disappointing things has been Houston. CJ Stroud's still a good quarterback. I was reading an article on The Athletic, Diane Rossini, earlier this morning, and she teased it on a podcast earlier, in the week. But there's some problems apparently going on in Houston, just
Yep.
more so behind the scenes. And then just looking at some of the other stuff, I mean, looking down at not even Atlanta's just weird. Atlanta
So,
looks just like they looked great in that first game, right? And then all of a sudden they just
they might be a dome team, and also Carolina weirdly plays Atlanta well. If you actually look at the stats, one of the only teams Bryce Young has ever beat. He's undefeated against the Falcons.
yeah.
So maybe it's just matchup wise for
And that
Carolina.
brings up a very good point. NFC North, AFC North. Kevin Stefanski has done very well against the NFC as a whole. This may be an upset special for this weekend. I'm not saying it a guarantee, but given that, we both talked about this, I don't think it was on the podcast. We both talked about how losing Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson might hurt them this year up in Detroit. I know the Browns don't perform as well defensively on the road if this is following the 2023 trend, but I think there's a legitimate case for the Browns to pull the 2-2 going into Detroit tomorrow. That is something I
It
was
would have
not
to be
thinking
a
about.
miracle performance by the defense. They'd have to hold the Lions to 17 points.
And I
The
think that's
offense is
possible. I think it's possible. Because
not
look at what you
not
did to the Packers. Look at
not at
what
a
you did to
dome.
them. Look
No,
what you did to the Bengals. Look
I
for the most part of that Ravens game. Look at that.
I
Before they
think
went and exploded.
dome
That
versus
might be,
grass, I think matters, especially for that Lions offense. They're so much different indoors
but that
versus
front line,
outdoors.
Miles Garrett had did you not see the clip of who was it? One of the
Oh,
offensive
I
linemen,
did. Oh, I did. But
oh,
but
like
but
it was the
the
fact that
Lions
he
still
could,
have a top five line in the NFL though.
yeah. And Green Bay had a decent line too, in my opinion. I mean, hell, just
Well,
look at what Miles Garrett has done. Look at what he's done with Mason Graham next to him. He has
it's
wrecked people's crap, and he has finally
yeah.
been unleashed fully.
I mean, it's a week to week. So I want to say two things. I want to go back to your AFC South point. So let me say this: going into the season, this is where I was at in the Colts. I said I actually thought their roster was underrated. You know how much I'm a big believer in Shane Steichen. You know how much I love Shane
Yeah,
Steichen going back to the Philadelphia
yeah.
days.
I have nothing against Steichen. Yep.
Jonathan Taylor, I thought was still an elite running back. I like their offensive line. I loved the selection of Tyler Warren in the draft. I said the only question was, could Daniel Jones turn back into the 2022 Daniel Jones that we saw with Brian Dable in New York? That to me looks like it's happening, and I think the Colts are legitimate. I don't think they're flukes, and I think right now they should be the favorites to win that division.
My
Now,
only concern is Darnold in Carolina. If you know what I mean, that's why I'm a little concerned.
No, not at all, because Matt Rule was fired immediately. I mean, Carolina
No,
stunk.
no, this was before Baker Mayfield year, the year before when Carolina started 3-1 or 4-0.
Wait, was it Darnold there only 1 year with Baker?
No, it was the year before Baker came in. It was 2021, before 2022. Baker was there in 22. So
Yes, I remember
2021 was
that.
Darnold, and they started out like 3-1 or 4-0 or something like that. That's
I,
what I'm getting
I
at with
don't
that.
remember
I'm
that
worried.
at all.
I do because Darnold was my quarterback in one of my leagues for the first couple of weeks because I had my regular starter get hurt. I think it was,
Wow,
and then I was able to turn back to my guy.
you know why I don't remember that year really at all in the NFL? That was the weird post-COVID year. COVID was weird, and then the year after, that was the year that Stafford and the Rams beat the Bengals in the Super Bowl. That was Jalen Hurts' first year as a starter. That was Sirianni's first year.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a forever ago.
I know it does, and that's why I'm bringing it up. It's like that's why I'm holding a cautious level of optimism at the Colts. I'm
So,
holding it steady. I don't want to jump the gun yet.
so the other thing is this. So you mentioned the Diana Rossini report about CJ Stroud. I
He still thinks he's a good
listen,
quarterback, and he
listen.
still is.
I know I'm gonna play a little fantasy game here. I'm not saying this is ever going to happen because I think the
Please,
Texans would be
please go the way I
stupid to
think
do
you're going to
this.
do it. Please.
There are two teams in the NFL draft this coming year with two first round picks. One of them is the Browns.
You were thinking right. Thinking last night.
The other though is the Los Angeles Rams. Stafford is getting older. McVay loves pocket quarterbacks. Depending on now again, depending on what the Browns do this season, the and Jacksonville, the Browns picks could be higher. The Rams do have Atlanta's first. I don't know what Atlanta did, giving up a first round pick for James Pierce. I don't care how good James Pierce is. That made no sense to me. So, um, I
I
do
take
think
Stroud in a heartbeat. I take him
here,
in a heartbeat.
here's the thing though. Would the Texans be willing to do what the Rams did with Jared Goff and Stafford and do a Stafford for Stroud swap? Or does Houston just want to bottom out? Because let me bring this other point up about the Texans. So I like D'Amico Ryans, but Josh, or not Josh, well, I call it to Josh because I had the same conversation with Josh on Championship Rings Tuesday night. Sorry about that, Fitz. Let me bring this up, okay? I'm gonna give you a similarity to me between three teams in similar areas. I compare this Texans team to early Josh Allen Buffalo and late Pittsburgh, late Big Ben, early Kenny Pickett days. Why do I say that? Because all three of those teams, CJ Stroud, very good quarterback. Ben, late in his time with Pittsburgh, was still a very good quarterback. And Josh Allen, obviously, growing into that 2020, 2021 Buffalo form. But all three of those teams had good to great quarterbacks. All three of them, though, struggled with their offensive lines, and all three of them also had defensive coaches who could not figure out the offensive coordinator. Remember, Josh Allen 2 years ago was leading the league in interceptions till Joe Brady came along, and the Ken Dorsey fit did not work. I think Houston's biggest issue is, and it may be D'Amico Ryans' downfall, when you have a defensive minded head coach, you need to find the right offensive coordinator. And they
And
have
they
not done
rehauled their
that yet.
offense. They rehauled their offensive system. They got some new upfront starters. And that's where, Rossini's point, I
But they
think they'll
didn't
be fine over
invest in the
long term.
offensive line. They didn't
That's
invest high in the draft. And they traded
exactly.
away Laramie Tunsil, which did not make any sense.
I think it
Um,
was I think I don't have an
well,
inclination, but
I
I think I
read
get
that.
why.
Well, they
Because
said
he's getting older. He's
well,
getting older.
they said he was committing too many holding penalties, but I would deal with it because he was. The thing is, it's not like you had another great offensive lineman. He was clearly their best offensive lineman. It wasn't even close. And when you have an offensive line that's bad, I think moving away your best offensive piece to make an offensive lineman worse makes no sense. And their defense, for the record, is suffering from it. Now, if they lose to Tennessee tomorrow, we have a different conversation because Brian Callahan has Hugh Jackson and Urban Meyer and bad Ed coach written all over him. The guy's terrible with clock management. They have no
AKA
pieces
Hack
around Cam
Dable.
Ward.
He should have been fired at the moment he tried to run the ball.
You know
With
what,
no
Fitz?
timeouts left.
I have tried to defend Brian Dable because I thought he made the playoffs with Daniel Jones. He has to be a good coach. But every single week, the more I agree with you.
Yeah,
Why?
it's literally it's the cardinal sin of Hugh Jackson. When you run the ball, you don't have any timeouts, and then you run out of the half. That's when you know you not need to go.
Let me ask you this. I agree that at some point they needed to throw out Jackson Dart, but I thought it was going to be next week against the Saints. Why are you giving him to the Wolves, the best defensive coordinator, arguably in football, and Jesse Minter and the Chargers? I don't get it.
Well, he's going down swinging. He's going to probably get, my guess is he's going to get 2 weeks this week to get thrown to the Wolves, and then next week see what he learns, and then see what happens. And
Don't
that might
don't
this
you want
might
to
be
give him
Dable's
any?
final two.
Don't you
This
want to give him an easy start though? Against because here's
You
the
want to
thing.
see Russell Wilson flounder instead of Jackson Dart actually get some game time and
No,
then
I
be able to
agree, but
go to
I'm
New
saying
Orleans?
wouldn't you throw him against the Saints, which is a winnable game? Because then the following Thursday they host
You want to get
Philly.
him. You want to get him ready. You want to get him ready, even if it's a slaughter fest to some degree. You know, tomorrow, you want to have him ready for the Saints. So I think this is the move, and he made this on his own. He's made this absolutely clear. So he might actually be in a way saving Joe Schoen's job. He is the one who will be going down with the ship because Joe Schoen was
Joe
on board
Shane.
with picking him, but Joe did not make this call with Dable. Dable made this on his own.
Well, I think Thursday if they lose to Philly that Thursday night game and they start 0-6, that's when you'll see Dable fired. They
Yeah.
they they won't go into a short week with a
So
new
if it's the
coach.
defense that collapses and Dart just plays out of his mind, I think that might be a different scenario, but I would agree with you generally.
Um, you know, this NFL season so far has been, in my opinion, again, outside of the Colts being better than what I thought, there's not really a ton of surprise to me. We're already seeing the best rise to the best. We're seeing the worst fall to the worst. I'm not shocked by really anything I've seen besides, again, I think Colts and maybe Jacksonville are better than Houston. I think the AFC South is the biggest surprise. You know, I tried to give Geno Smith and Pete Carroll the benefit of the doubt. I was wrong on that. I'm going to admit
The
that right
god of
now.
false hope. Do you remember what I've been saying?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I shocked people going into the year. I was not the biggest believer in Denver this year. I never understood how the Rayshon Slater injury all of a sudden jumped the Broncos to first place in the division. Didn't get
Because
that at
Rayshon
all.
Slater's that great of a
But
Rayshon
the
Slater's that great of an offensive
yeah,
lineman,
but he
but
is.
still the main
But
thing
you
is that
guys
Greg Roman and Justin Herbert, holy crap.
But you guys all overlook the Chargers. You guys are like all of a sudden,
I didn't. I
oh,
didn't. I was thinking like they have a shot here,
yeah.
but I
But
didn't think they would get off this hot. But they
well,
are.
the yeah, I mean the media, in my opinion, basically said, "Oh, Rashawn Slater's out, so we're just going to jump Denver over the Chargers because somebody has to be better than Kansas City." Listen, I think the division is probably a wrap. I think the Chargers are probably going to win it now at this point, but I'm not counting out Kansas City. I think it'd be crazy. I think even if they lose to Baltimore tomorrow, they still have a legitimate shot to make the playoffs. I'm not
You
saying
get
win the
Rasheed Rice
division.
back in what, week 7, right? You get
Yeah,
Rasheed Rice
well, that's
back.
the
You're
thing.
getting Xavier
And,
Worthy
and
back.
they're getting Worthy back tomorrow. I mean, they did without Worthy and Rice, they have no legitimate threat down the field because Travis Kelce should have hung it up last year. He should go out, he should be planning his royal wedding instead of being on a football field. Let's be honest.
Hey, let him go out on his own terms. I mean, this is probably his last year, is my best
Oh,
guess.
it's definitely his best year. There's no way. I
But
know he's the
again,
one who's trying to
congrats
finish out
to
with the ring.
him going with the mega superstar who should hopefully be occupying a space where a vacant stadium will be in a few years. I
um,
think there'll be a lot of concerts along the lakefront, assuming this all holds. And I think a lot of people will be wanting to come to Cleveland.
So we're gonna wrap it up with this. So y- every year in the NFL, you know me when it comes to my predictions, I try to take big swings. This year, my two biggest swings in the AFC were Vegas, who we already talked about, and New England. I am shocked they are not using Travion Henderson. I thought Drake May would look a lot better and clean up the turnovers than what he's done so far. New England, to me, looks like they're still in a complete rebuild, and Vrabel's not going to flip the switch the way that everybody thought he would.
I mean, remember, May is still only in his second year starting. There's still some things to work out over there, and to be honest, we'll find out. This is still Vrabel's first year, right? I'm not getting things mixed
Correct,
up.
yes.
So, I mean, he's obviously been a head coach before in the NFL, but he's got to adjust to a new team still, and he's still, working out those
But
kinks.
by the way, if you look really hard at Tennessee under his watch, they had that one good year when they went on that lucky playoff run when Derrick Henry ran for over 200 yards and Ryan Tannehill threw lob balls to A.J. Brown, and they had a really good defense. But besides that, I have never been the biggest fan of Vrabel. I thought he was a good head coach. I thought he was a little bit overrated the way he was talked about in the media. I don't know. I think New England is still on the Belichick brand, and it still feels off
It
to me.
feels different for sure. I I get where you're coming out with that. I think it's just too early to tell. I think Vrabel's trying to separate that from his own style and also keeping something there, a small core thing, like a principle of some sort.
So, Fitz, I forgot because I wanted to ask you this question. Maybe you could help me out because I don't understand this football team at all. They just moved to 3-1 after winning Thursday night. I don't understand Seattle. The reason why I don't see a great top 10 player at their position on their roster.
Jackson Smith and Jigba,
Are we
he's
sure he's
there.
a top 10 receiver? Are we
He's
sure?
right on that. He's either 10 or 11.
But
He's right
again,
there. He's
definitively,
right there. He
uh,
is right there. He is 10 or 11. And if you want to
so
lean towards 10, I'd say 10.
again, but we're having a discussion. There's no definitively. And I think he's a high end two, maybe a low end one. Like I don't know. Are they just a team with a bunch of good players? That's what I see. They have 53
Yes,
good
because they
players.
got two really good running backs. I mean, when Kenneth Walker's out, Zach Charbonnet just goes off, and what? They've been able to just do this whole cycle of running back. It's like they got a
I
lot of really good players. It's just they gotta they just have to win some ugly football.
I guess my point is like even Arizona, right? Like I see Trey McBride as a top three tight end in the league. New England, I see Christian Gonzalez, top five, six corner in the league. Like even bad teams, maybe outside of Carolina, I see one great player. I don't see that with Seattle, and yet they're winning these games. I don't see a great pass rusher. Again,
Definitely, I agree with you on that.
I don't think Woolen and Witherspoon are this great cornerback duo. I think they're both good. I don't think they're both amazing. I think they can both get thrown on. Like I don't know. And
It
Sam
still looks
Darnold,
a lot like last year's team. I think they're going to fade down the stretch.
I I tend to agree with you. They're hard for me to wrap my arms around.
Same here. I mean, I'm just going off my hunch.
So, all right, well, I think that will conclude this special recorded to live edition of Brands World. I'm going to let you, Fitz, go
There
and
is
throw out
one
your
thing I want to
socials
bring
real
up
quick. Go ahead.
though. Back last month, we lost our one pup, JT. So that was hard on the family. But I want to, in case folks aren't aware and haven't followed me on socials, especially on Twitter at Fits on Sports BSR, this guy is now going to be 19 weeks old next week, Tuesday. My gosh. But this is, if I can get it to clearly show up, can I?
It's still
Wait.
fuzzy. By the
This
way,
is this is
okay,
Ozzy. We got Ozzy right here.
make sure you go to the Brandon Jordan YouTube channel. Those of you that are listening on audio, this is going to be one clip, by the way. I know generally we break it down by sport, but this is going to be one clip today. It's still a little fuzzy on your end,
Yeah,
Fitz.
I'm trying to unfuzzy it. Might be the brightness, I don't know. But
Let's
I don't
see.
know
I
why
think it's
it
just
oop,
okay. Well, there's a clear picture of a Guardian
that was
Stadium
just
shot.
of yeah, no, it was just like a whole collage shot.
There you had it for a second. It's still blurry.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it back.
There we go. There we
There he
go.
is.
There
Yeah,
we go. Oh,
it wasn't
yeah.
clear for a second, but if you
So
pause for like 1 second, you'll see
what?
the 24 plus pound baby.
What kind of breed is he?
We don't know exactly.
Is he a
We
chocolate
do know
lab?
his mom. We got him from a rescue down in Akron.
Okay.
We got him from one of a kind. We had two Labradoodles before him. What we do
Okay.
know is that his mom was a doodle. But
Oh.
like, man, like he is a different kind of guy.
Well,
But
my
like,
guy
we
right
love him.
now is a combination of a sheepdog and um a poodle. So it's an old English sheepdog. He is crazy, but we had a chocolate lab back in the day. He was a chocolate lab mix. Was just a great dog. So glad to hear that, Fitz. I'm glad you're doing well. Hey, go Guards! Even though I'm
Mhm.
not the number one fan of this team when it comes to my football watching. As you know, I know you're going to be talking to Quentin Griffin next week, but Quentin Griffin likes to
Yes.
call himself a Browns observer. I like to now coin that term. Thank you, Q, for letting me use it as well. We are
I'll have to
Brown.
double check that with him when I'm podcasting with him.
We are
But
Browns observers.
remember, folks, today's games. Detroit plays first.
Yes,
Detroit at
410.
Boston, 4:10 Eastern, 1:10 Pacific. Guardians are on Fox against Texas at 7:15 Eastern, 4:15 Pacific. So don't, if I'm the Guardians, this is my message to you. Don't scoreboard watch, just focus, dial in, and screw them.
All right.
And also,
With
this is the
that,
lineup I will guarantee you. If they throw this exact lineup out in order, this will be a lineup winner for today. I want them to do it. And if they don't, coward. Coward. Huang, left field. Valera, right field. Ramirez, third base. Naylor, catcher. Manzardo, DH. Kafis, first base. Halpin, center field. Schneeman, second base. Rocchio, shortstop. If they throw that lineup out behind Cantillo, book it.
you've heard from Fitz Adamas, folks. Go Guards, go Browns. We are going to be back on the Branch World podcast on Monday, special Monday edition, special birthday edition of the podcast from me because tomorrow night, there is a Sunday night game between Micah Parsons and Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys, but there's something more important on because it is the season finale of Big Brother 27. We're going to be breaking it all down on Monday's pod, and then we'll be recapping week 4 in the NFL on Tuesday. Make sure you stay tuned for that. As always, I'm
And
Brandon
for
Lewis.
where things stand, we have two new interns.
Make sure you catch that on Thursday or Friday this week. As always, I'm Brandon Lewis, the host of Brandon's World. He is Sean Fitzgerald, the host of the Fits on Sports podcast. We both work for a little company known as Voltage Live that we are in collaboration for. We'll see you guys Monday on the Brandon's World podcast. We break down the winner of BB27. Will it be Morgan? Will it be Ashley? Or will it be my guy, Vinny the Whip with the mustache? We'll find out tomorrow night. Until then, a salute to you, and as John Cena would say, never give up.
All right, later, folks.